calling. The live units are pulled up. They get the stretch hose line to go in and do what they normally do. What the bravest always do, go in there, conduct searches, and begin to extinguish the fire. At approximately the 14-minute mark, most of the fire was extinguished. There was a large volume of fire in the rear on the rear of the building. That fire caused a structural collapse at that 14-minute mark, where two of our members became trapped. Thankfully, the FDNY and our procedures, we have contingency plans in place. We had a fast truck, which is a unit that's on scene to help rescue our firefighters because we had two members trapped. And we also had special operations units, the Rescue 2 and Squad 252 who were on scene, who worked with Ladder 120 to get in there and extricate our victims. Both victims at this time are doing okay. I'll let EMS comment on that a little bit. They're moved to the hospital, but it took us about 10 to 15 minutes to get those members out because of the amount of debris that was laid on top of them.
All right, Chief Bradshaw.
Deputy Chief Michael Bradshaw, MICHAEL BRADSHAW. This incident produced 4 patients, 1 civilian, and 3 firefighters. All the patients were treated by EMS and transported to local hospitals for evaluation. I must say we operated well together. We trained for this, and I couldn't ask for a better response from both agencies.
All right, Josh, you have a question for Chief?
Well, I actually have 2 questions.
Yeah.
One EMS and then one back to fire. How fortunate are these members that they were not seriously hurt? I mean, this is the kind of thing that can be seriously dangerous.
They're very fortunate. This call could have went sideways very, very fast, especially with the amount of time they were trapped in the debris. But their brothers were able to get them out, and we were able to evaluate them and transport them to the hospital in stable condition.
How long were they trapped?
Chief, how long were they trapped for?
Yeah, they were trapped for about 10 minutes before we were able to extricate both victims. We're lucky enough that here in Brooklyn, we have some of the best engine companies in the world. So they were able to get in there and extinguish that fire. So we're lucky that we didn't have the dual hazard of a fire impinging on them along with the collapse, which has happened to us in other areas of the city at other times where we've lost members. So this was a great case. The best case scenario was us having the fire extinguished before the collapse occurred.
Chief, can you just maybe in layman's terms sort of take us through, like, what was going on in there? So where were they? What actually happens? And can you paint a picture of what it was like?
Sure, 100%. So usually we're arriving on scene with that volume of fire that was on the first floor. We arrived on scene, you see the fire. Engine companies begin to stretch hose lines. Truck companies, the ones with ladders on top, they're going to go in and do a search and also force entry. And they're going to begin to get in there and vent entry and search. So that's what's going on at that point. They're trying to make sure that there's no other victims from the house inside. Making sure that there's no people. So we always check the first floor, second floor, in this case, and also the basement in order to make sure that everybody got out alive. We never want to leave anybody in there.
But I mean, at the moment when it gives way.
So the moment it gives way, so we've extinguished a large volume of fire. At that point, the structural beams have been weakened due to that large volume of fire in there. So again, once all members are all in there and operating, we're all with bunker gear on, about 300 pounds. I would guess with bunker gear and equipment on. So again, there's a heavy load on there, not knowing that there was structural damage because we didn't get a chance to open up some of the fire areas yet. That's when the collapse occurred.
All right,
So
one more question, Lewis.
Clarification before we get to run. You said 4 injured, 1 was a civilian, and the 3 firefighters were the ones that were collapsed. Where was that civilian?
The civilian was probably from smoke inhalation before we got on scene.
Were they passed out or?
No, a lot of times when we get on scene, if there was a fire, most of the time the brave people in the city usually try to extinguish it themselves. So at that point, they'll take a feed from the smoke because they just don't have enough water to put that out.
And that civilian was on the 2nd floor with the firefighters?
They were on the second. No, they were not with the firefighters. They were already removed outside of the building. The minute we get on scene, we're going to make sure that any civilian that's in that building that's on their feet, that we're going to get them out and let us do our job the way we are.
One more.
Chief, and obviously the members are very well trained in this particular eventuality also. But what goes through their minds when their brothers go down like that? And what's going on while they're trying to?
Well, we already have a high adrenaline load when you're coming in here and you see the fire, and when one of us goes down, we call that at that point then that stress level and that adrenaline level is going to quadruple. And everybody wants to get in there to make sure, again, that everybody goes home safely. So we're going to put all of our resources in place. And thankfully, from learning lessons over the years, we have those contingencies in place with those fast units and having those special operation units who go in to get us when we're in trouble.
All right, thank you guys.
I'm really glad they're all
Thanks,
okay.
everyone.